The minute that we get 1 or 2 solar panels on the block, that's going to help everyone else on the block. And the more that we can see that functionality, see the impact now that you have money to spend on whatever your other home repair is, your entrepreneurial pursuits, or vacation, whatever you may do. Now you're no longer stressed with the energy burden that many of us always face.
I drive 2 hours, I can be at sand dunes on Lake Michigan. I drive 2 hours the other way, I can be on cliffs on Lake Huron. There are just like so many different environments in Detroit, and I think we should really highlight not just Michigan, but the way that these spaces extend from the city itself.
Welcome back to the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. About 30% of the food supply in the U.S. goes to waste. While that waste happens at all levels of the food system, including food growers, processors, restaurants, and grocery stores, food waste happens at home too. Sometimes you just can't cook the exact amount you plan on eating. Sometimes last night's spaghetti turns into last week's spaghetti. Most of the time, food scraps end up in the sink or the garbage. But there's something else you can do with your food scraps. And depending on where you live, it might be a program in your city. Something that's similar to, say, recycling or trash collection. I'm talking about composting, the process of turning old food and yard waste into nutrient-rich compost. We want to hear from you. What are you doing to get your garden beds ready? Does compost make it into the mix? The number is 313-577-1019, and the phone lines are open. Joining me now to talk about how a large-scale composting operation works is Bill Whitley. He's the president of Spurt Industries, and his company manages a multi-city composting program. That includes operating a large compost yard in Rochester Hills. Spurt was hired by a municipal corporation called SOCRRA that manages waste and recycling for 12 communities in Oakland County. That arrangement just started March 31st. And for people who live in the SOCRRA communities, and forgive me, I'm going to list them now. It's an important list to note. It includes Berkeley, Beverly Hills, Birmingham, Clawson, Ferndale, Hazel Park, Huntington Woods, Lathrop Village, Oak Park, Pleasant Ridge, Royal Oak, and Troy. I'm going to need a minute now, Bill Whitley, to catch my breath. Thank you for joining us on the Metro.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be here.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the composting program you oversee, we have to start with compost itself. What is it, and do you compost?
We sure do compost, right? We've been composting now. This is our 10th season running Spurt and making compost. Compost is the result of the natural breakdown of organic material, right? So for what we do here, it's primarily yard waste, grass, leaves, brush, and then also food scraps. We take food waste from residents, from commercial operations, schools, hospitals, corporate cafeterias, restaurants. We mix those materials together. We allow them to break down aerobically in the presence of oxygen, creates a mature soil amendment that will help grow new plants. This is nature's way to grow.
I think some people have probably thought of composting as a smaller scale type thing, a tumbler or open air compost pile in the backyard. But a compost yard, that definitely sounds a little different. So if I'm standing in the middle of it, what do I see? What do I smell? What do I hear?
Yeah, so if you visit our compost site in Rochester Hills, and we love to offer tours and to show people around, we have better than 25 acres of compost going on there. So you'll see a variety of materials at different stages of breakdown. So you'll see fresh leaves that look like they fell off the tree yesterday at one end of the yard, and at the other end of the yard, you're going to see a rich black soil that's ready to be planted in. And you'll see as that material goes through the process, you'll see the breakdown. You'll see from a leaf to kind of a leaf, and you'll just see some strings, and you'll see the twigs and sticks take a little bit longer than a blade of grass, but you'll see that change in color from brown to this rich black soil amendment. You'll see a lot of heavy equipment moving around. You'll see wheel loaders. You'll see screen plants. You'll see windrow turners, the equipment that we use to help this natural process break down. Our composting is completely natural. We add no chemicals at all of any kind. We just mix the materials. We add oxygen by turning the piles, and we let the microbes do the work.
So I know that it is important not to contaminate compost, though, that there are certain things we're not supposed to throw into our composting bucket. Can you talk about, like, is there one big offender? Are there several big offenders when it comes to a large-scale compost yard like this?
Yeah, there's a couple, and the contamination is one of the biggest challenges that we deal with, right? So at the end, we use compost and we sell compost up to and including certified organic farms for people to grow the food that we eat with. And so we need clean material on the front end if we're going to produce a quality compost that people can grow food in at the end. So the biggest two are plastics and glass. Plastic is the higher volume or higher concentration thing that we see. And that can be plastic water bottles, or it can be film plastics, right? We don't want to see plastic bags. A lot of the material that comes in is yard waste, and people will think that, well, that's any of the waste that comes from my yard, including the plastic bag that I bought mulch in. And no, that plastic bag should go to the trash. Or if your local recycling program will take the film plastic, you can recycle it there. Most don't. But we really want to see the plastic out. And then glass is the hardest thing for us. A glass bottle is pretty much guaranteed to break at some point in our process, and then those tiny shards will end up in the finished product, and there's no way for us to screen it out. The plastic, we were able to remove most of that. We have a screening process at the end. That's the last thing that we do with our compost to remove anything that hasn't broken down. We have a plastic vacuum on the end of the screen plant to suck out all of the film plastic so that we're able to capture as many of the organics and keep them back in the soil where they came from.
I had composting through the city of Denver when I lived there, and I have to admit that once in a while I would see someone contaminating my compost bin. They would throw a plastic bag into the bin, and I didn't know that this was in me, but I would go outside and yell at them.
we love the it's the buy-in from the participants that really makes this whole thing work. And so it's really important for us that we get a good, clean feedstock and that we're able to produce high-quality compost.
Why do we even need, though, large-scale composting operations like this? Like, why not leave it up to people to do their own composting instead of spending taxpayer dollars on this service?
So it's a lot of work to turn leaves into compost, and it's a lot of work to turn food into compost, and it's more work than most folks are willing to do, right? So I think generally people don't realize what happens to their material once they take it to the end of the driveway to be picked up. Whether that's trash, recyclables, or compost, it just disappears, right? Well, those three streams go to three different places for it to be broken down. And to do it at large scale, to manage the volume of food waste that's out there, as you said in the intro, there's a ton of food waste that's out there. We need the yard waste to blend with the food waste. You have to have the proper recipe in order for this to break down naturally. And so the commercial scale is the way to manage the large volumes of material.
You're listening to The Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. Our guest is Bill Whitley, president of Spurt Industries, the company hired by SOCRRA to handle composting. And SOCRRA is a municipal waste and recycling corporation that serves 12 Oakland County communities. And we're taking your calls. Do you compost and turn those food scraps into your own homegrown vegetables? The number is 313-577-1019. Let's go to the phones now. Julie from Clarkston, thanks for calling the Metro. Are you a composter?
I am.
Go on. Tell me more.
Well, I have a garden. I'm actually expanding a vegetable garden. I'm expanding it this year. Just due to all the changes, I think there's going to be food shortages or more expensive. And I've always composted. I made my own open air compost. And that works really well until you get to the winter. And then it's who wants to traipse out, and dump it. So I kind of need a solution for that. But also I have a question. If you're not one of the SOCRRA communities, can you still come and buy compost from Bill?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can certainly buy compost from us. We're there 12 months a year, Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. You can pick it up at the yard. We also offer residential delivery all across Metro Detroit. And also through the winter months, if you're looking for a home for food scraps, we accept those materials at both of our compost yards as well.
Julie, thank you for calling the Metro, and thank you for composting. We want to bring someone else into the conversation. Eric Griffin is the general manager of SOCRRA. Eric, thanks for joining us on the Metro.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. So until just last week, SOCRRA was operating the composting program without Spurt Industries, and that program was popular with a lot of home gardeners. Why did SOCRRA need to find a partner to oversee composting in the 12 cities that SOCRRA is serving?
Well, SOCRRA had experienced some attrition. We have a older staff, and we did have some retirements that impacted our operations. Our primary leader of the facility retired, and we weren't really in a great position to continue operating and improving operations. And that was the piece I really saw as a huge opportunity for us. Is we were composting I would say at the necessity level. We were receiving the material, we were processing it. But we weren't experts in the field like Bill is. I mean, you've had a few minutes to talk to Bill. Bill is a leader in the industry, and he is visionary. And so we really wanted to provide a better service and product to our customers and handle our material better. And so we thought this was the right time to form this partnership.
Now, some of the places people can get their compost are going to change. Why change those drop-off locations?
Well, that's up to the individual communities. So the 12 communities we serve, I think they also saw this as an opportunity to reevaluate the program. And what they were seeing in their communities was some abuse of that free compost. So not enough of the residents were getting it. More of the of commercial landscapers were taking the material. And so this material has value. I mean, we believe very strongly that this material is a valuable commodity, and we didn't want it to be exploited. So we still allow residents to come and take as much as they want for free up at our Rochester Hills location. And then we provide delivery service through Spurt for purchase. But that's a big advantage for our communities, that they can buy the product at a discount and have it delivered. Some communities are going to continue the drop-off. That varies community to community. But really it was, a poor use of taxpayer dollars to have that material taken by commercial landscapers.
Eric, thanks for digging into it with us here on the Metro. Bill, I want to turn back to you. One of the changes Spurt and SOCRRA have talked about is that compost residents will be getting a higher quality if the same residents are contributing their yard and food waste. How do we know if the quality is going to be improved?
Yeah, so we do regular testing of the product. We're a member of the United States Composting Council and members of their STA Seal of Testing Assurance program. So all of our compost goes through regular testing. We're out in the yard every week taking temperatures of every pile every week. We look at the bulk density. We look at the moisture levels to really manage that manufacturing process to make sure that we produce high-quality compost. And we get to the end and we test it, and we test it regularly. So that's tested both for the nutrient content, but it's also tested for any heavy metals contamination. We test for pathogens. We test for pH. We conduct grow trials in the compost to make sure that it will grow, and it's done in a laboratory condition against a known growing media, and we regularly exceed the performance of this laboratory greenhouse growing media. And so those test results are available to any resident or any customer who'd like to see them. We share them. And so we're very proud of that quality and to be one of only 4 composters in the state who've achieved this certification.
Yeah, so I want to emphasize residents of SOCRRA cities can get compost free of charge. They just have to pick it up from the compost yard. How does that process work? What do I need to bring? Do I need a pickup truck? Do I need proof of where I live?
Yeah, we do ask for proof of residency so that anyone in the 12 communities has it at no charge. Residents from outside those 12 communities are still welcome to come and get compost. There'll be a small fee for that. So bring a proof of residency. Typically, we ask for a driver's license, but any other proof of residency would be just fine. Bring a shovel and then bring a bin. So if we have people that come with 5-gallon buckets. We have people that come with Rubbermaid Tupperware containers. We have people that put a tarp in the back of a minivan or fill the back of their pickup truck. there's always a pile there ready for folks to come and pick up compost.
Bill Whitley is president of Spurt Industries, the company hired by SOCRRA to handle composting. And SOCRRA is a municipal waste and recycling corporation that serves 12 Oakland County communities. Bill, thanks for joining us on the Metro.
Thanks so much for having me.
Coming up, we'll continue our conversation about composting. It's springtime in Michigan, so home gardeners are getting their garden beds ready, and the success or failure of your garden depends on good soil. Today, we're talking about composting. How can you turn your food waste into food for your garden? We want to hear from you. What are you doing to get your garden beds ready? Does compost make it into the mix? The number is 313-577-1019. The phone lines are open. This is the Metro. Stay with us.
We cover a lot of topics on the Metro: culture, government, climate, education, health. I could go on. Our mission here is to help you make sense of the news of the day, connect you to your neighbors, and give you a fresh perspective every day. But how do we know if we're succeeding? That's where you come in. Let us know how we're doing with the voicemail. Open the WDET mobile app, hit the open mic button, tell us your name and city, and tell us what you want to hear more of on the Metro.
Welcome back to the Metro on 1019 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham. And we're talking about composting today. And of course, we're taking your calls. Are you a home gardener? What's your composting setup like at home, if you do? And how are you preparing the soil in your garden beds this spring? The number is 313-577-1019. Now, imagine you've just finished cooking the best omelet you've ever had. I'm not an egg person, but shout out to those who are. Your kitchen counter is covered in leftover eggshells, onion and garlic peels, and pepper stems. You've got the makings of some great compost there. But how can you turn those food scraps into delicious, nutritious vegetables? It might be easier than you think. Joining us now to the mix, and to mix it up a little bit and talk about composting, is Michael Edwards, the CEO and co-founder of Midtown Composting. Michael, thank you for joining us on the Metro.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So first things first, because you hit us with a cool little story. How did you come up with the idea for Midtown Composting?
Well, Tim Campbell came up with the idea originally. He was handling about 60 residential pickups, and he was doing some businesses. And I ordered compost. I asked Facebook. I said, I'm new in town. This was right before COVID. And who can I talk to that, like, if I knew what was hip and what was going on in Detroit, who would I call for compost? And they said Midtown Composting. So Tim comes over, drops off the compost, and I'm like, how do you make money? Because this is so seasonal. And he said, I pick up food waste. And he was very excited, telling me all about the residential pickups. Turns out he hated that part of the job. And I actually liked it. So I was like, if we partner and I build this thing, can I have it? And he was like, sure. And true to his word, 6 months later, we went up to, I think it was 160 or 200 or something residents, and he gave it to us. And he kept the part of the business that was doing bins, like 30 and 50 gallon bins, and we did all the buckets. And then he has since retired. And by the way, I met Bill when we first got started. I love Bill. Y'all had Bill on. He's awesome. So then I took the idea back to my wife as I'd been working for like a month at it. And I was like, hey, babe, I really need your help. This is really hard. And she was like, okay, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, everything, please. And what's it going to take? And she goes, I want to own it. And I'm like, okay, you got 51%. And she's like, no, I want to own it. So she does own 100% of it, and she does get to tell me what to do. And sometimes she's right. And but she works her butt off. And we've had a couple businesses before that. Her heart wasn't into it. And this time her heart's really into it. So she is the hardest worker besides me. We're at least tied. It goes back and forth. And we work together every day and do it. And so she's the owner. I'm the CEO.
What's your wife's name again?
Christina.
Christina. Thank you so much. Shout out to you, Christina. Woman power, girl power all day. But let's get into composting 101, Michael. Why should people compost in the first place? I think about the personal benefits or if they're personal benefits for an individual. So why should people do it?
I'm going to give you two separate thought processes here. Number one, from the liberal perspective, which most of our customers. The greenhouse gases that food waste produces when in landfill is between 27 and 99 times more of a greenhouse capturing gas than CO2. The methane is very serious for climate change and whatnot. The good news is when you quit throwing food waste into the trash, that methane is gone from the atmosphere within a few years. Unlike CO2, it takes a lot longer to dissipate. So you can make an immediate difference that way by just composting food waste. But from the conservative perspective, because the coolest thing happened to me a few months ago, dude came out with a Kamala flag, putting his bin out, and right across the street, dude with a Trump flag, putting his bucket out, and they waved at each other, and I'm just like, unity. And
unity through composting.
Yes. And the reasons for doing it, because I've asked, it's local sustainability, keeping stuff out of landfills that we shouldn't be paying for, replenishing soils, and a small circle sustainability thought process of I'm growing some of my own food. I want that nutrition back into my own garden. So we're finding both parties jumping on board in this for different reasons, but similar and beautiful reasons.
And that's one thing that we do on the Metro often, where we try to find ways to have conversations with folks from, both sides, from different points of views and perspectives. And here you are saying, you know what, I'm in the thick of it because I see it every day, people working together through composting.
It's so beautiful.
Wow. Okay, so you gave us the liberal and conservative reasons for composting, but generally, yeah. But what goes into composting and what doesn't? So if I'm at home and I'm putting stuff into the bin and I'm trying to collect all my scraps, what should I not put in there?
Well, if you're signed up with Midtown Composting for residential pickups, we'll take anything compostable. So eggshells, bones, sticks that aren't too large, we'll take all of that. Some very small composters are much more particular because they have a small site where they do quick composting and they can't wait for things to break down. They don't break down as well in bigger piles, so they can be more restrictive. We're not, just like Spurt takes just about anything compostable, we do too. The biggest issue we have is plastics, but it's most often when they think it's biodegradable, that's the same thing. I'm of the opinion that biodegradable just means corn subsidized, and it probably worse than plastic in most cases. So they will biodegrade under the right circumstances, which is not a landfill or a compost pile, and it's within 10 years. So it doesn't mean much. But a lot of people thought that was compostable because it said biodegradable. That's our biggest issue. But dealing with buckets at residents versus like big businesses or drop-off locations, we get to pull out the contamination immediately. The other most common thing is just wrappers that everybody swears their cousin or uncle was visiting and didn't know how it works. It's never the homeowner's issue, but for the most part, we get much cleaner food waste from individual residents because they're invested. They signed up and they paid for this service, $20 a month for every other week, $30 for every week. And so they're emotionally invested in the process as well.
That's going to be my thing, just thinking about the public and the people that you all are interacting with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you all get to really know these people, and you get to know some of the things that they do and some of the things, honestly, what they eat too.
I want to do a study. Like, if you got 13 pizza boxes a week versus a whole bunch of vegetable peels, I want to know what the health expenses are for different. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be interesting because you get to see exactly what's coming out of folks' kitchens. So
we know so much about people by what's coming out of their kitchen.
Uh-oh, guys. Uh-oh.
We keep it to ourselves for the most part.
Yeah, we are listening to the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. We're talking about turning food scraps into nutrient-rich compost. Our guest is Michael Edwards from Midtown Composting, and we are going to go to the phone lines right now. The number is 313-577-1019 if you are hanging out there listening, but we are going to the phone line, so let's go to John from the East Side. Hi, John. How are you? Do you compost?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having this conversation and highlighting it. And I want to shout out to all my East Side composters. We compost at Feed 'em Freedom Growers. We compost up at Sanctuary Farms, which is Mac and Lakeview. And then the ECN, Eastside Community Network, has a composting situation there. And we are trying to convince the city to go with curbside composting sooner than later.
John, from the east side, you just gave me so many different spots on the east side right now that are collecting composting. I'm new to the east side, so thank you so much for that. That really was helpful. Thanks, John. And let's go to Sue in West Bloomfield. Sue, are you a composter?
I am a composter. As I explained, though, I don't use my compost. I take all my food scraps and put them in a bin just so they're not going into a landfill, just so they're not going down into my septic system. I don't know exactly. I know I'm supposed to turn the compost and do stuff with it, but I don't bother with it. I just let it sit in its little bin. I was going to offer if anyone needs some compost. I'm sure mine is very nutrient rich. It's been sitting there for years. But I'm curious. I heard them say bones can go in it. I've always been told, like, no meat or related products. And I'm wondering, like, do you have to scrape the bones clean? Can you put meat in your compost bin? I don't want to attract other varmints. I've got plenty of worms and spiders and other good bugs in there, but
yeah. Sue, thank you so much for that question. We're actually going to bring that to Mike. So thanks for calling, Sue, from West Bloomfield. And Michael, bringing you back into this conversation. Bones.
Yeah, so if you're doing your own composting, you're going to attract rats. If you're composting with us, we're big enough that the compost piles get hot enough that we don't have the issue. So we take meat and bones for that reason. We have many customers that sign up with us through the winter months. I heard a caller mention that, and that's an option. You can pause your subscription, but also customers will just do one-time pickups. They'll be like, all right, my compost is out of control. Come save me. And we'll get a few buckets out of their way, and then they can add some carbon and get their stuff right. And we got some that'll freeze bones and give that to us like twice a year while they do their regular composting. So, we can work with you to make it work. And I will also personally, if anybody's like, help me compost, I'll come help them compost. They can email us, they can call us, and no charge. We'll just figure out what we can do to help get their situation more sustainable.
There it is, you all. We're heading back to the phone lines right now. Thank you, Michael, so much for answering Sue's question. Jim in Dearborn, thanks for calling the Metro. Do you compost?
Oh, yeah, I compost big time now.
And
no such thing as yard waste.
I love that. So please that's the next segue we actually have, is talking a little bit about the twigs and the leaves and all that stuff in your yard. So what do you do with it?
Well, some of it gets broken into smaller pieces, and we have a chipper shredder that also grinds up some stuff. We take leaves and we run them through our leaf blower, but we also we suck it in like a vacuum, and there's a little cutting tool in there that chops up those leaves as you're sucking it back in.
And do you plant as well? Do you garden as well?
Oh, yeah, we got 9 blueberry bushes, and I got black raspberries, red raspberries, asparagus, it goes on. So, yeah, I've been composting for a long time.
Nice. Jim from Dearborn, thank you so much for calling us this morning. And I want to bring Michael back into the conversation because we just heard a little bit about Jim and using all things, twigs, leaves, all the stuff in your yard. Spring is approaching. People are out there cleaning up soon. Not today, it's kind of cold, but people are out there cleaning up today. What are some tips for cleaning up your yard?
Well, if you can, put the grass and the leaves back into your yard. Ideally, if you've got a way to mulch and break it up, we don't want to keep extracting the nutrition, the value of the yard, and then you need chemical fertilizers to make your grass green again, kind of thing. So I recommend you can get a fairly inexpensive leaf mulcher that you can just then put back, especially in brown spots where the grass isn't growing, and fertilize it that way.
I smiled so hard because our executive producer, David Lyons, has been saying this to me for like 3-4 years, almost 5. It's been a while since he's been saying, don't rake your yard. So thank you, Dave. And thank you for solidifying David's thought process there. But Michael, sounds like Jim does a lot of work to turn those leaves into compost. So can you just talk a little bit about, thinking of Jim and thinking about all the folks that we've been talking to, the overall general lifestyle change that goes into composting and learning how to compost, and some of the not necessarily sacrifices made, but some
adjustments.
Yes.
Yeah, adjustments feel like a sacrifice at first because they
Sometimes.
take up your time at first, at least. We're working on a total lifestyle package deal. We want Detroit and the whole metro area to be a place where people are growing their own food, transporting that food between customers and or anybody else. So Jill's growing pickles and John's pickling pickles and Sue needs tomatoes. We want to make that happen. If we had another supply chain collapse kind of thing, I want Detroit to be eaten regardless. We want to get in with schools and get kids growing their own vegetables, getting their hands dirty, and then learning what vegetables are and learn how to cook those vegetables. We want to create that. We do lawn care and landscaping services as well, and very eco-friendly as much as possible, no chemicals, and putting that grass clippings and whatnot back into the yard and composting instead of fertilizing. We're doing all that, and we're trying to create kind of a symbiotic small circle sustainability deal where you can get in and use as much of the services as you want, but also eventually decentralize a lot of those services so that everybody can just get everybody's food. That's what we're trying to build here. It's not just the compost, although that's my favorite aspect of it.
And Michael, being from the city of Detroit, and seeing how composting is starting to take a leap here, and it's really, really positive to see. Can you talk to us a little bit about your experience from other cities coming here and starting to build this in the city of Detroit? What do you see for composting in the city of Detroit within the next decade or so?
Cities are talking to us, and we're small. We've got about 1,200 residential customers and maybe 100 or so businesses, whereas someone like My Green Michigan and Spurt, they have large businesses mostly, and the residential they do is at a drop-off location. So going door to door, we're the only ones doing it here. But we are noticing, we went from a couple hundred to 1,000 in a couple years, and cities are talking to us about doing the whole city. Whether or not that comes to fruition, it's complicated, but we're trying to make that work. So there's just so much more talk about it than before. People are really interested. People that never thought it was an issue now want to do it.
Michael Edwards is the CEO and co-founder of Midtown Composting. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have you back.
Thank you. I'd love to.
Of course. This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation.